welcome to Above Replacement Radio. I am your host, Chris Gianta. You know what Christy Mathewson wasn't worried about? SIERA. When you're thinking about Pedro Siriaco, I mean, the only one that can compete is maybe Hannes Wagner's 1908 season. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Kern.
Like, if we just clip together every time we've talked about him on other people's profiles, we've done a Mickey Cochran episode.
I can't get past Rabbit Marinville. It's not necessarily Hall of Fame. It's not necessarily above average, but we can guarantee you we are better than just the standard replacement level college sophomore.
And welcome to Above Replacement Radio, where we're talking baseball Tuesdays and Thursdays. I am your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Kern. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I'm going to try not to get emotional this week and next week on the History Show because this is our swan song, but I'm ready to enjoy the ride one last time.
Yeah, 29 players down, and this is the last one. And, next week, we have 29 teams down as well. Next week will be the last one of that, and then the season will start.
Wow.
That's why the season seems somewhat fast approaching, because we've just done so much in the off season.
We have. I mean, like, we did 15 separate history episodes, 15 separate teams, 15 separate players, at least by the end of it. We did 10 Hall of Fame breakdowns. We did a Hall of Fame live reaction. We've done numerous news shows, previews. We've done basically everything this offseason. And, we're a week today is opening day.
Yeah, we're almost at like 40 off-season episodes, because the first off-season episode was 66.
Wow.
Number 66, and we're at 105 now. So, yeah, this will be our 40th off-season episode.
Insane.
So, yeah, we've done a lot in the off-season, so it doesn't even seem like there hasn't been baseball around, because it's always.
And not only that, but like we revamped history pretty much very soon after the World Series ended.
Yeah, it was because the World Series ended
days before we all had to go home from college.
Yeah, it ended on a Tuesday, and then we recorded the first off-season episode, I think, on a Monday, and then we picked for the next week that Monday.
Yeah, so I mean, we were planning on starting it after Thanksgiving, but we got removed from our college a little sooner than we were expecting, so we were like, all right, let's just do it now.
Yeah, and it worked out for the best.
It did.
Because then we were able to spread out the history episodes so that we were able to have more time to do the last four
when we were at school. Because I think we are going to have done 8 episodes of history from college out of the whole series.
Yep. Yeah. That's
obviously a lot of time on our hands to begin with. And then these history episodes, man, people don't realize how much research they take.
Yeah, it's a long time. We're gonna put together, after next episode, we're gonna put together a Google Doc combining all the prep sheets.
Oh God.
And I would imagine it's gonna be between like 600 and 800 pages.
Yeah.
It'll be
that's so much.
It'll be great. But yeah, they take a lot. And it'll be nice when it's over. And it was an idea built in quarantine, and hopefully at the end of the history series we'll be a month or two away from being out of whatever this is. So I guess that's the silver lining you can put to all of this. But now to the subject at hand. The first pitcher we're talking about who played in the dead ball era, Walter Johnson.
All right, the first pitcher of the dead ball era. I can't wait for how many more.
Yeah, we got a long list after him. Growing up, he was born in Allen County, Kansas. He grew up working on a 160-acre farm, and at the turn of the century, his family stopped working on the farm due to droughts. And they briefly moved to Humboldt, Kansas after this, then moved to California to work in oil companies, as there was a big oil craze happening in California in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And when he was 16, he finally had his first experience with organized baseball, where he played for a sandlot team. And his 6'1" stature and strong frame that was built from farming and working in the oil fields helped him out on the baseball field, making him a strong specimen to throw baseballs. And soon enough, he played for a semi-pro team sponsored by the local oil company in California. And he was impressive enough for a reporter to say, quote, "Johnson was presented as a high school kid, but he is certainly a graduate in the science of delivering the ball," unquote. And when the semi-pro team was in their off-season, unorganized baseball was still going on, as California has the weather where you are able to do that. And some of the rosters of these teams had minor league and major league players who were looking for extra money in their offseason. And Walter Johnson played in these unorganized games for 3 years, and the increase in competition helped him build his craft. And Johnson believed his talent, despite, building his craft through playing against these minor and major leaguers in this unorganized form. Johnson believed his talent was largely God-given. He said, quote, From the time I held a ball, it settled in the palm of my hand. It settled in the palm of my right hand as though it belonged there. And when I threw it, ball, hand, and wrist, and arm and shoulder and back seemed to all work together," unquote. And in April of 1906, a former teammate of his arranged a grouping of Walter Johnson and a Tacoma team in the Northwestern League. Unfortunately, he was released by Tacoma after one exhibition game. And now
Tacoma will never recover from that one.
Oh my God. Yeah, they really, that's like the Expos trading Randy Johnson.
Yeah, they had no idea what they missed out on.
Yeah, like one game, he didn't want to give him a shot after that. I mean, come on. But like Randy Johnson found a quality home in Seattle, Walter Johnson found a quality home for a couple years in the city of Weiser, Idaho. And this is actually pretty funny for us too, because, the sports journalism main building, or the main building where the best sports journalism stuff is happening on Springfield College, is in a building called Weiser Hall. So it's pretty funny that Walter Johnson was playing professional baseball in a town called Weiser, Idaho.
That is also my current location.
Yeah, literally Daniel is right there.
Yep.
Weiser Hall. So we already love Walter Johnson for being a legend of Weiser, Idaho.
From two legends of Weiser to one other.
Yes, a tribute to him. So after him getting released by Tacoma, a different ex-teammate of Johnson's recommended him to a Southern Idaho League team in Weiser, Idaho. And in that city, he was paid $90 a week to, quote unquote, work for a telephone company. But that $90 a week was actually going to him for playing baseball. And in 1906, he put together a 7-1 record for Weiser before going back to California. And in 1907, he earned the nickname the Weiser Wonder from his spectacular performance that year. In 146 innings pitched with Idaho, or with Weiser, I guess, he allowed 9 earned runs in 146 innings pitched and struck out 214 batters, which is 13.2 strikeouts per 9 in 1907.
He might have had a lower FIP.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, 0.55 ERA, negative FIP, probably. He also put together 77 consecutive scoreless innings and back-to-back no-hitters at one point. Back-to-back no-hitters. Only one guy in the MLB has done that, but Walter Johnson did it in the Southern Idaho League, people forget. And this attracted major league attention. Obviously, 77 scoreless innings is going to do it for you, as there were telegrams being sent to the Washington Senators about this pitcher. And that manager sent one of his injured catchers to Idaho in order to recruit Johnson. And Johnson actually demanded the Senators buy him a train ticket back home in case his stay with the Senators didn't work out. And he also wanted to call his parents for their permission for his signing. This was a 19-year-old kid. Also, he had been released by one team after one game. So, he didn't want to risk traveling cross country just for him to get the axe once again. And this is a quote from Society for American Baseball Research. It says, quote, "On July 22nd, 1907, a large crowd came to Weiser Depot to see him off. As Johnson said goodbye to his pals, there were tears in his eyes. A group of appreciative Weiser fans had tried to convince him to stay, offering to set him up with a cigar store on the town square. Johnson thanked them, but declined the offer. Quote, 'You know how you are at 19, he said. He explained later. You want to see things,' unquote." So the town of Weiser was really into Walter Johnson. They wanted him to stay, but Walter decided he was going to go into the MLB. And, starting out in the MLB, he went to a very poor franchise, and he was just kind of a diamond in the rough there. So that's what we're going to get into right here.
So in 1907, Walter Johnson made his MLB debut with the Washington Senators on August 2nd, 1907. He was just 19 years and 269 days old when this happened, and he did all right. He allowed 2 runs in 8 innings on a loss. So, on paper, the loss isn't good, but in reality, he didn't pitch too bad. He ended up making 12 starts that year in 14 total appearances, and he ended up with a 1.88 ERA, a 1.61 FIP, 129 ERA plus, and just 110.1 innings pitched. And his 1907 remains the only season by a pitcher in their age 19 season or younger with 70 plus strikeouts, 20 or fewer walks, and less than 100 hits allowed. And his FIP from that season, which was a 1.61, remains the lowest by a pitcher in their age 19 season or younger with 100 plus innings pitched. Unfortunately, the Senators weren't able to back his success. They went 49-102 on the season, finishing dead last in the American League.
So on to 1908, which was the season of one legend that we love, who had a spectacular season over in the National League.
Yeah, he did. He had a 205 OPS plus.
Yeah, but this was the year of the pitcher. That shortstop in Pittsburgh was just refusing to abide by that fact.
The original, I guess not the original year of the pitcher, but it's the one before the actual one.
One of the OGs.
The other one is 1884, but
yes. Johnson in 1908 put up a 1.65 ERA, 1.60 FIP, and 138 ERA plus in 256 1/3 innings pitched. He finished 5th in ERA, 5th in ERA plus, and 4th in fielding independent pitching, and he finished 6th in B-WAR and 7th in F-WAR. And his FIP remains the lowest in a qualifying season by a pitcher in their age 20 season or younger.
How about that?
And his 1908 is the only season in baseball history with 150 plus strikeouts, less than 60 walks, and 0 home runs allowed.
How about that?
And the Senators improved, I guess. They went 67-85 and finished 7th in the American League out of 8.
So now it is 1909, and before the end of the decade, Walter Johnson put up a 2.22 ERA, a 2.16 FIP, which is very off from his normal FIP. In 1907 it was a 1.61, 1908 it was a 1.60. So he did not follow the trend and put up a 1.59 FIP, unfortunately, but he did put up 111 ERA plus in 296 1/3 innings pitched. That put him 3rd in the league in innings pitched at just age 21. And he finished 10th in B-WAR and 9th in F-WAR. But the Senators took a massive step back. They went 42-110, finishing last once again in the American League.
So now we're in 1910, which is the first of Walter Johnson's many unbelievable seasons. One of the first seasons of Walter Johnson.
Because his 1.60 FIP wasn't that unbelievable.
Yeah. This was the dead ball era, after all.
Yeah.
So in 1910, Walter Johnson finished third in ERA with a 1.36, which is just a hilarious statement to say, and second in ERA plus with a 1.83. And he led the league in innings pitched with 370, complete games with 38, strikeouts with 313, strikeouts per nine with 7.6, and FIP with a 1.38. And he finished third in B WAR and led the league in F WAR. And it is the only season in baseball history with 350 plus innings pitched, 7.5 plus strikeouts per nine, less than 2 walks per nine, and less than 7 hits per nine.
How about that?
And it is also the only season in baseball history with 350 plus innings pitched, 7.5 plus strikeouts per nine, and less than a 0.95 whip.
How about that?
His 1910 is also the only season in baseball history with 350 plus innings pitched, 310 plus strikeouts, and less than 60 earned runs allowed.
How about that?
And lastly, it is the only qualifying season in baseball history. You know, not a crazy mark for innings to be required here. He only needed 154 innings to get a qualifying season, and it is the only qualifying season in baseball history with an ERA of less than 1.4 and a FIP of less than 1.4.
How about that?
So obviously, this was a historic season. And the Senators, meanwhile, went 66 and 85 and finished 7th in the American League. So Walter Johnson is just really the only guy there making a difference.
And some of that would stay the same in 1911. He finished third in innings pitched with 322 and a third in FIP with a 2.53, and second in ERA with a 1.9. He also finished second in ERA plus with a 1.73, and he led the league in complete games with 36 and shutouts with 6. And he finished third in wins above replacement on both sites. And in the inaugural season of the Most Valuable Player Award, Johnson finished 5th in the MVP vote. The Senators continued to struggle. They went 64 and 90 and finished 7th in the American League. But we're going to talk about the now 4-year run of the dead ball era that Walter Johnson and the Senators had between 1912 and 1950, because things were a bit different there. More specifically for the Senators, because Johnson was dealing before and he was dealing after. So in 1912, the year the Titanic sunk, he finished second in innings pitched with 369, led the league in hits per nine with 6.3, strikeouts with 303, Ks per nine with 7.4, whip with an 0.91, K to walk ratio with 4, FIP with a 2.03, ERA with a 1.39, and ERA plus with a 2.43. He led the league in wins above replacement on both sites. And with the bat, he hit 264 with a 701 OPS and hit as many home runs as he allowed, which was 2. He finished third in the MVP vote, and his 1910 and 1912 seasons are the only in the modern era, that is since 1900, with 350 plus innings pitched, 7 plus Ks per nine, and less than 2 walks per nine. His 1912 is the most B WAR in a season by a pitcher in their age 24 season or younger in the modern era. His 1912, it is the only season in baseball history with 350 plus innings pitched and an ERA plus over 225. And Walter Johnson remains the only pitcher in baseball history with multiple seasons of 350 plus innings pitched and 7 plus Ks per nine through his age 24 season. And the Senators were getting there. They finished 91 and 61 on the season, getting them second in the American League.
So now we get into an extremely special season. This is one where you gotta bring out all the stats. You know,
just for context, before we start, Chris texted me a couple of days ago and said we could do a 2-part episode just on his 1913.
Yeah, it's quite unbelievable, and fittingly enough, this is when this is the official beginning of the earned run official era, where the earned run became an official stat. But you didn't have to worry about counting many of those when you were talking about Walter Johnson in 1913. I can assure you that. It was man, what an absolute season this year. And by the way, he's doing this. This is his age 25 season. He's still got a lot ahead of him. So Walter Johnson in 1913, he allowed a run in his first inning of the season, then did not allow a run for his next 55 innings. So came close to what would soon be, or what would later be Oral Hershiser's record mark of 59.
Well, to be fair, it was broken by Don Sutton first.
Or was it Don Sutton or Don Drysdale?
It was Drysdale. No, wait, I think it was Sutton.
It was a Dodger named Don.
Yeah.
It was originally broken by a Dodger named Don. But yeah, Walter Johnson, 55 inning scoreless streak.
Please hold.
After allowing a run in the first inning of
It was Drysdale. Okay.
of the 1913 season. It's easy
Sutton
to get
had
those
Sutton
guys.
had a 35 scoreless inning streak.
Yeah, that's quite a bit there. So during Johnson's 7-game scoreless streak, he had a 298 OPS against, 37 strikeouts, and 5 walks. It took Johnson 12 appearances, and that's 8 starts for him to get his first loss. He started out the season 10-0. Also, it took 15 appearances, which was 11 starts, for his ERA to get above 1. Just 1. And from June 27th on, he went 21-2 with a 0.97 ERA in 195 and a third innings pitched. Unbelievable. And he ended up leading the league in wins with 36, winning percentage with 837, innings pitched with 346, complete games with 29, shutouts with 11, walks per 9 with 1.0, hits per 9 with 6.0, strikeouts with 243, strikeouts per 9 with 6.3, whip with a 0.78, strikeout to walk ratio with 6.4, FIP with 1.90, ERA with a 1.14, and ERA plus with a 259. ERA
Take a breath.
Plus, 159% better than the average pitcher in 1913. In a pitcher's era where it's hard to be better than the average pitcher because pitchers are dominating, Walter Johnson still found a way. And all because of this, he led the league in both B-WAR and F-WAR. No pitcher in Major League Baseball was within 6 B-WAR. 6 B-WAR. That's like an all-star season. That's, getting Cy Young votes type seasons.
That's getting MVP votes.
That was the distance between him and the second best pitcher in Major League Baseball, not just the American League, all of Major League Baseball. And then you factor in Walter Johnson was getting it done from the 9 spot too. With the bat, he had 261 with a 726 OPS and 109 OPS plus. So he was 9% above average hitting and 159% above average pitching. Unreal. And he won the MVP, and as a result, won a Chalmers automobile, as that was the MVP. That was what the MVP award was sponsored by. It was the Chalmers MVP award. It lasted from 1911 to 1914, and then, obviously the MVP award doesn't get doled out until the 20s after that. Everyone knows the story. But now on to the how about that's of the 1913 season. His 12 games with 9+ innings pitched, 7+ strikeouts, and less than 7 base runners allowed remain the most such games in a season in the history of game logs.
How about that?
That is since 1901.
1901, in the 120-year history of game logs, he has the most such games with 9+ innings pitched, 7+ strikeouts, less than 7 base runners allowed in a season. His 10 games with a game score of 86 or better remain the most such games in a season in the history of game logs.
How about that?
It is also the only season in baseball history with 10+ shutouts and a whip of less than 0.8.
How about that?
It is also the only season in baseball history with 35+ wins, less than 8 losses, and an ERA below 1.5.
How about that?
It is also the only season in baseball history with 340+ innings pitched, 6.2+ strikeouts per 9, and 1 or fewer walks per 9.
How about that?
It is also the only season in baseball history with 340 plus innings pitched and a whip of less than 0.8.
How about that?
Also the only season in baseball history with 340 plus innings pitched and an ERA of less than 1.2.
How about that?
And lastly, it is the only season in baseball history with 340 plus innings pitched and an ERA plus of 250 or better.
How about that?
And his 1913 also has the most B-WAR by a pitcher in their age 25 season or younger.
How about that?
And actually, lastly, it has his 1913 has the most baseball reference wins above replacement in a modern era season that goes back to 1900.
How about that?
So an unbelievable season. The Senators did pretty well. They went 90-64, but they finished second in the American League behind Connie Mack's Philadelphia Athletics.
Can't even be mad at that.
Yeah, I mean it was the original A's dynasty.
Yep. That has to be very close to the most dominating season we've ever covered.
Yeah, just about. I mean,
Like the only thing that comes to mind is one of those 4 Bond seasons.
yeah, very, very true. Like also this is dominant because he did it from both sides. He was very good hitting the ball too, which is pretty
That's right.
crazy to think.
So now we look at the 1914 season of Walter Johnson, where he had quite the season to follow up. And he finished third in ERA with a 1.72, second in FIP with a 2.02, and second in ERA plus with a 164. He led the league in wins with 28, innings pitched with 371 and 2/3, complete games with 33, shutouts with 9, strikeouts with 225, and a K to walk ratio of 3.0. He led the league in wins above replacement on both websites, but it couldn't get the Senators over the hump. They went 81-73 and finished third in the American League. So now going on to 1915, Walter Johnson finished second in ERA with a 1.55. He led the league in wins with 27, innings pitched with 336 and 2/3, complete games with 35, shutouts with 7, walks per 9 with 1.5, strikeouts with 203, whip with an 0.93, K to walk ratio with a 3.6, FIP with a 191, and ERA plus also with a 191. He once again led wins above replacement on both websites, and the Senators went 85-68, finishing fourth in the American League.
And this caps off a fantastic 4-year run where Walter Johnson was clearly, by definition, the most dominant pitcher in the game at that point. And his 4 seasons with 11 plus B-WAR up to this point remain the most through a pitcher's age 27 season.
How about that?
Also, his 1910 and 1915 seasons are the only seasons in baseball history with 200 plus strikeouts, a whip of less than 0.95, and less than 2 home runs allowed.
How about that?
His 1913 and 1915 seasons are the only seasons in baseball history with 330 plus innings pitched, 200 plus strikeouts, less than 60 walks, and less than 260 hits allowed.
How about that?
Also, his 4 seasons from 1912 to 1915 with 330 plus innings pitched, 5 plus strikeouts per 9, and a whip of less than 0.95 remain the most such seasons in baseball history, and no one else has more than 2.
How about that?
Johnson had 4. Also, his 5 seasons between 1910 and 1915 with 330 plus innings pitched, an ERA of less than 1.75, and a FIP of less than 2.1 remain the most such seasons in baseball history, and no one else has more than 3.
How about that?
And his 5 seasons between 1910 and 1915 with 330 plus innings pitched, 5 plus strikeouts per 9, and an ERA of less than 1.75 remain the most such seasons in baseball history. No one else has more than 2.
How about that?
He has more than double those such seasons of the next best guy in that category. And that same stat applies with ERA plus, with the ERA plus filter set at 160. So whether it's ERA of less than 1.75 or ERA plus of at least 160, you get the same result. So from 1912 to 1915, Johnson averaged a 31-12 record, just an average year in that 4-year span, a 1.45 ERA, 1.97 FIP, 209 ERA plus, shout out to Stockton, California, 4.0 strikeout to walk ratio, 356 innings pitched, 244 strikeouts, 33 complete games, 8 shutouts, and 12.8 B-WAR per year. If you do that in 2 seasons, you're a great pitcher. You're a fantastic pitcher. He had that was his average for 1 season in this 4-year span. And also from 1912 to 1915, Walter Johnson led the league in strikeouts per 9, minimum 400 innings pitched. He also led the league in appearances, starts, wins, innings pitched, complete games, shutouts, strikeouts, ERA, FIP, B-WAR, and F-WAR. But I feel like most of those were givens. So now, over the next 2 years, to go with the big train puns, this won't be the last, but the big train goes on a bit of a bridge in 1916 and 1917.
That's right. So in 1916, Walter Johnson finished third in ERA with a 1.90 and third in ERA plus with a 147. He led the league in wins with 25, innings pitched with 369 and 2/3, complete games with 36, strikeouts with 228, Ks per 9 with 5.6, K to walk ratio with 2.8, and FIP with a 182. He led the league in wins above replacement on both websites once again, and it is the only season in baseball history with 225 plus strikeouts, a whip of less than 1.05, and 0 home runs allowed. So even in this, this bridge part of his career, we're still finding how about that. The Senators went 76 and 77, just under 500, finishing 7th in the AL. And now on to 1917, where Walter Johnson put up a 2.21 ERA, 1.98 FIP, and 1.20 ERA plus in 326 innings pitched. He finished third in innings pitched on the year and led the league in Ks per 9 with a 5.2, K to walk ratio with a 2.8, and FIP with a 1.98. And with the bat, he hit 254 with a 674 OPS. I know that doesn't sound good, but it is a 106 OPS plus. That means he was 6% above the average hitter, while also being a great pitcher as well. And he finished 4th in B-WAR and led the league in F-WAR. But the Senators finished 74 and 79, 5th in the AL.
And now we enter the final stages of the dead ball era. And Walter Johnson is ending that era correctly. And he's ending it on top pretty much. In 1918, after giving up 4 earned runs in his first start, over his next 20 appearances, also 14 starts after that first start, he put up a 0.57 ERA and 157 and a third innings pitched and threw 6 shutouts in 14 starts. And every start he ended up making in that season was a complete game. Started everything that he finished everything that he started in that 1918 season.
I mean, same thing applies.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. And he ended up finishing second in innings pitched with 326 innings pitched and second in FIP with a 2.03. He led the league in wins with 23, shutouts with 8, strikeouts with 162, whip with a 0.95, ERA with a 1.27, and ERA plus with a 214. And he led the league in both B-WAR and F-WAR. And meanwhile, with the bat, killing it once again, hitting 267 with a 688 OPS and a 109 OPS plus. This was the guy you probably could have had as an everyday hitter too. Just a guy in the bottom of the order, kind of unsuspecting. Johnson's 1918 is the only season by a pitcher in their age 30 season or older with 325 plus innings pitched, 4.4 plus strikeouts per 9, and an ERA plus of 200 or better.
How about that?
His 1918 is also the only season by a pitcher in their age 30 season or older with 325 plus innings pitched and an ERA below 1.3.
How about that?
And his 1913 and 1918 seasons are the only seasons in baseball history with 326 plus innings pitched and 46 or fewer earned runs allowed.
How about that?
And his 2,467 career strikeouts up to this point remain the most through a pitcher's age 30 season.
How about that?
And after the season was shortened a month for World War I, the Senators went 72 and 56, which was in roughly between 130 and 140 games, and finished third in the American League. So now on to the last year of the dead ball era.
That's right. On opening day of 1919, Johnson threw a 13-inning shutout, which was his 80th career shutout, which passed Christy Mathewson, his career mark, to give Johnson the shutouts record. If only we had video for that, I'm sure it must have been awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't even get the radio call.
The Jumbotron must have had a big sign that said Walter Johnson is now baseball's newest shutout leader with 80.
Yeah, I remember the anticipation in the ballpark, you know, during those 4 extra innings. Just the Senators had so much pressure to score so that people could witness Walter Johnson's 80th shutout.
Yeah, I mean, like ESPN was right there. Like, so, I mean, everyone was there. MLB Network was there, Fox Sports, CBS Sports, like they were all right there for Walter Johnson's 80th shutout.
Over the center field wall, there was, you know, there was the 79, and, you know, they were looking to unveil the 8 and the 0.
Yeah. Amazing. Peter Gammons was there too.
Yeah, he was only 51 at that point.
Hey, for the record, we love Peter Gammons. He's a great reporter and he's an absolute legend of the game.
Yes.
If you're listening, Peter, we love you.
Yeah, we quoted him last player episode. He was part of the Frank Robinson episode.
Yeah. Anyway, he finished 4th in innings pitched with 290 in the 3rd. He led the league in shutouts with 7, hits per 9 with 7.3, strikeouts with 147, WHIP with a .99, K to walk ratio with a 2.9, FIP with a 2.07, ERA with a 1.49, and ERA plus with a 2.15. And once again, he led the league in wins above replacement on both websites.
And now to sort of cap off the decade, to put it in perspective, some more how about that's for Walter Johnson. His 1908 and 1919 seasons are the only seasons in baseball history with 140 plus strikeouts, less than 60 walks, and 0 home runs allowed.
How about that?
And he remains the only pitcher in baseball history to have 3,000 plus innings pitched and a FIP under 2 through his age 31 season.
How about that?
He also remains the only pitcher in baseball history to have 2,500 plus innings pitched and an ERA plus of 170 or better through his age 31 season.
How about that?
And his 119.7 career pitcher B-WAR remains the most through a pitcher's age 31 season.
How about that?
And the Senators went 56 and 84 and finished 7th in the American League in 1919. And now, for the next 4 years, it's a different era, and it's a different ERA. Also, you know, little double entendre also spells out the word era, and you know, league adjusted different ERA plus as well in the next 4 years for Walter Johnson.
So now it is the start of the live ball era. And in 1920, this is a quote from Society for American Baseball Research. Walter's string of 20 win seasons was broken in 1920 when a combination of a bad cold, a sore arm, and a pulled leg muscle limited him to an 8-10 mark in only 21 appearances. So unfortunately, Walter Johnson won his least amount of games at that point. And on May 14th, he collected his 300th career win, just his 13th year in the game. And on July 1st, he pitched 6 perfect innings against the Red Sox. And to lead off the 7th, Harry Hooper, who was just 10 years removed from leading the league in plate appearances, ended up reaching on an error. Tough. And after that, Johnson retired the final 9 hitters with a no-hitter, with no walks, no hit batters, and 10 strikeouts. That damn, just like Kershaw in 2014. That damn fielder.
Exactly like it.
Yeah. Was there 10 strikeouts in that one?
I
feel like there was
guess
14.
more.
I want to say there's 14. Anyway,
Yeah.
after that July 1st start, he made 2 more starts on the year and didn't pitch after July 16th. But on the year, he ended up with a 3.13 ERA, 2.78 FIP, and a 1.19 ERA plus in 143 and 2/3 innings pitched. The Senators went 68 and 84, sixth in the American League.
And in 1921, on September 10th, Walter Johnson recorded his 2,804th career strikeout, which passed Cy Young's mark, giving Johnson the all-time record, which a record he would hold for 62 years until Nolan Ryan broke it in 1983. You can hear more about that on part 1 of episode 80. And Johnson put up a 3.51 ERA, 3.43 FIP, and 117 ERA plus in 264 innings in 1921. Finished 8th in ERA, 3rd in FIP, and 9th in ERA plus, and he led the league in strikeouts with 143 and strikeouts per 9 with 4.9. And he finished 9th in B-WAR and 7th in F-WAR. And the Senators went 80 and 73 and finished 3rd in the American League.
So now we're on to 1922, where Walter Johnson finished 6th in innings pitched with 280, 6th in ERA with a 2.99, 6th in FIP with a 3.77, and 6th in ERA plus with 130. He was in 6th across the board, but not in B-WAR because he was 7th there. And the Senators finished 69 and 85 with the 6th best record in the AL. So now on to 1923. On July 8th, he made his 3,000th career strikeout, becoming the first man to reach that plateau. And it would take 51 years for someone else to do so. So he was on another level of all other pitchers for the first 70 years of baseball. And he put up a 3.48 ERA, 3.45 FIP, and 109 ERA plus in 261 innings pitched. He finished 8th in innings pitched and 4th in FIP, overall 8th in F-WAR, and the Senators went 75 and 78, finishing 4th in the AL.
So, not the greatest years from Johnson, although he's still a very good pitcher. But in 1924, he's rejuvenated. He has a better team around him now, and he has a lot more motivation heading into his late 30s. So in 1924, Johnson actually planned for 1924 to be his last season, with plans to own a Pacific Coast League team after that 1924 season. And on May 23rd, he threw a complete game shutout with 1 hit allowed, 1 walk, and 14 strikeouts. This game remains the only in the history of game logs by a pitcher 36 years and 195 days old or older, with 9+ innings pitched, less than 2 hits allowed, less than 2 walks, and 14+ strikeouts. Shout out to Justin Verlander for being 36 years and 193 days old, while Walter Johnson was 36 years and 199 days old.
Thank God.
Walter Johnson, he was older. It was, more impressive.
He was so much older.
Yeah. I mean, almost a full week. A lot can happen in a week.
Literally. Just look at the entire year of 2020.
Yeah. Come on. So, yeah, Johnson was clearly at a disadvantage compared to Verlander. Entering August 10th of this 1924 season, the Senators were 3 games behind in the pennant race. And from that date moving forward, Walter Johnson went 10-1 with a 2.13 ERA. This is the live ball era, so this is very impressive now. 2.13 ERA and 3.3 strikeout to walk ratio in 88 and 2/3 innings pitched. The Senators ended up going 92 and 62 and winning its first ever pennant. So after 18 years, Walter Johnson gets to go to his first ever World Series.
See, guys, we don't need to freak out over the Angels wasting Mike Trout's prime. It took Walter Johnson 18 years.
Yeah, 18
and he got
years.
there.
Yeah, and there were only 8 teams in the American League.
Yeah, come on. Pump the brakes here. The Angels will be fine, right? It's only a little sarcastic.
Yeah, I can't wait until 2026 when Mike Trout gets in the 16-team playoff format. Mike Trout gets 8 plate appearances in the playoffs. It'll be fantastic. Everyone will be really excited. Johnson in 1924 ended up finishing 6th in innings pitched with 277 and 2/3 innings pitched. And he led the league in most of the relevant categories. Led the league in wins with 23, winning percentage with a 767, shutouts with 6, hits per 9 with 7.6, strikeouts with 158, whip with a 1.12, strikeouts per 9 with 5.1, strikeout to walk ratio with a 2.1, FIP with a 3.31, ERA with a 2.72, and ERA plus with a 149. And he finished 3rd in B WAR and 2nd in F WAR. And Walter Johnson won his 2nd MVP. And actually, sort of a how about that. I didn't research before, but I would assume he's the only pitcher to win multiple MVPs. I don't recall anyone else being able to do it.
There's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, let's do a little quick live check on the how about that. Pitchers to win multiple MVPs. He's joined by Carl Hubble and Hal Newhouser, I believe.
Classic Carl Hubble.
Carl Hubble of the New York Giants and Hal Newhouser of the
Detroit Tigers.
Of the Detroit Tigers in the mid 40s.
Yeah.
Everyone was at war, but Hal Newhouser was putting up like 1.9 FIPS.
Can we label those as Mickey Mouse MVPs? For Newhouser. I mean, everyone was at war. Like half the league was gone.
Yeah, 2 MVPs for Newhouser. Fact check here. Yeah, I mean, it is funny because the offensive stats went down significantly between 1943 and 1945.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah,
Ted Williams alone would have brought that up by 10 points.
Yeah, exactly. You got Williams is gone, DiMaggio's gone, Johnny Mize is gone. Everyone's gone.
I think Greenberg was gone.
Hank Green.
He was also
Greenberg was gone. Yeah, he. I think he won. Yeah, he won the MVP in 1940, and then he left.
Yep.
So yeah, he would have made an impact. But anyway, Walter Johnson is finally in the World Series, and in Game 1, Johnson had allowed only 2 runs through 9 innings, but the Senators were still down 2-1 in the 9th inning. But the Senators tied it in the 9th, and Johnson did not allow a run in the 10th and 11th, but neither did the New York Giants. And in the 12th, Johnson loaded the bases without getting an out. Then loaded the bases without getting an out. Then Frankie Frisch grounded into a force out at home. But the batter after him singled to drive in a run, and following him was High Pockets Kelly, a classic Hall of Famer, who hit an RBI flyout to make it a 4-2 ball game with the Giants up. And the Senators scored a run in the bottom of the inning, but ended up losing Game 1 by the score of 4-3. So the Senators won Game 2 of that series, lost Game 3, but then won Game 4. And in Game 5, with that series tied, Johnson allowed 3 runs through his first 7 innings, then allowed 3 runs, 2 unearned, in the bottom of the 8th to make it 6-2 Giants, which was the score that they ended up winning by. But the Senators won Game 6, forcing a Game 7. And Johnson did not get the Game 7 start, but the Senators tied the game in the bottom of the 8th, and Johnson came in for the top of the 9th. And in the 9th, after giving up a 1-out triple to Frankie Frisch and intentionally walking Ross Youngs, he struck out High Pockets Kelly, then forced a ground out for the final out of the inning without allowing a run. In the bottom of the inning, the Senators got runners on the corners with 1 out also, but they grounded out into a double play to end the inning. So now they're on to extra innings. In the 10th, after walking Hack Wilson, Johnson struck out Travis Jackson, then forced a ground ball double play to end the inning. The Senators, meanwhile, went 1-2-3 in the bottom of the 10th. Then in the 11th, Johnson allowed the leadoff hitter to single, then get bunted over to second on a sacrifice from the following batter. Then with a man on second and 1 out, he struck out Frankie Frisch, intentionally walked Ross Youngs, then struck out High Pockets Kelly to end the inning and keep the game tied. And in the bottom of the inning, the Senators got a man on in scoring position with 2 outs, but did not capitalize. So Johnson had to go out for a 4th inning in relief on 1 day's rest. And in the 12th, Johnson allowed a leadoff single, but did not allow him to move when he retired the final 3 batters of the inning. So another scoreless inning from Johnson. And in the bottom of the 12th, Muddy Rule doubled with 1 man out. Then Walter Johnson himself reached on an error, and then Earl McNeely hit a walk-off double to make Walter Johnson a World Series champion.
Let's go.
There we go. It's what we've all been waiting for. He did everything in his career except win that World Series, and he finally did it. And he earned it. Throughout the series, Johnson put up a 3.00 ERA through 24 innings pitched. And after 1924, his potential purchase of the Pacific Coast League team he was interested in fell through, and he decided to return to the Senators.
So Walter Johnson is finally a World Series champion, and he's got to follow it up in 1925. And he did so by posting a 3.07 ERA, a 3.68 FIP, 138 ERA plus, and 229 innings pitched on the year. He finished 4th in ERA and 4th in ERA plus, but he led the league in K to walk ratio with 1.4 and FIP with 3.68. He finished 10th in B-WAR and 5th in F-WAR. And with the bat, he hit .433 with a 1033 OPS and 163 OPS plus. And as you can imagine, his .433 average is considered a record for pitchers. So you could argue he had a better year with the bat than he did on the mound, because he had a 163 OPS plus and 138 ERA plus.
Yeah, that's a good evaluation.
And the Senators won the pennant once again on the brink of their 96-55 record. So now in the World Series, in Game 1, Walter Johnson earned a complete game victory with a 4-1 win over the Pirates, but the Senators lost Game 2 and won Game 3. So it was now 2-1 Senators heading into Game 4. And in Game 4, the Senators ended up going up 3-1 in the series after Johnson threw a complete game in a 4-0 victory. But the Senators lost Games 5 and 6, setting up a Game 7. And regarding Game 7, this is a quote from Society for American Baseball Research. "It was a great day for water polo," quipped New York Times sports writer James R. Harrison. "On Thursday, October 15th, the Pittsburgh Pirates and Washington Nationals met." Hold up a second.
Yeah, I don't know. This is from Society for American Baseball Research. They're calling them the Nationals, so we'll just go with it.
I guess, even though Baseball Reference says they were the Senators until.
I mean, they were the Senators. Maybe
until they left for a minute. They were the Senators when Sandy Koufax was pitching against them.
Yeah, like.
Is that correct, or were they the Twins then?
No, they were the Twins, but the Senators also were revamped to start the Rangers franchise.
Yeah.
They were the Senators for a while, but maybe it was just a nickname or something. I don't know.
Anyway, quote, "On Thursday, October 15th, the Pittsburgh Pirates and Washington Nationals met in horrific weather conditions to play Game 7 of the 1925 World Series. And when Game 7 had concluded, it was considered, quote, the wettest, weirdest, and wildest game ever seen. The Senators were up 6-4 entering the bottom of the 7th. And there's another quote from Society for American Baseball Research. Quote, "By the 7th inning, the steady rain became a downpour. The skies grew even darker and visibility became worse. With the Pirates still trailing 6-4, the fans stood and cheered during the 7th inning stretch and remained standing when Eddie Moore came to the plate to lead off for the Pirates' 7th. The second baseman hit a routine pop fly that Senators shortstop Roger Peckinpah camped under. It was the kind of ball Peckinpah had caught 999 out of 1,000 times," wrote Hugh Fullerton. "This time, he let it slip through his fingers. Moore made it all the way to second base on the misplay. Carey followed with a fly ball down the left field line. Washington left fielder Gosselin drifted far to his right. He got his hands on the ball and was unable to hold it. Moore scored and Carey went all the way to second base. The Nats immediately protested, claiming the drive to be foul. And Johnson ended up giving up 2 unearned runs to tie the game. And Peckinpah redeemed himself in the top of the 8th with a solo home run to make it 7-6. In the bottom of the inning, Johnson retired the first two batters and then allowed a double to tie the game. And then Peckinpah had another rough play. From Society for American Baseball Research, quote, "The next batter, Carey, grounded directly to Peckinpah, who was unable to handle the wet ball. He then reached on for the ball, but let it slip out of his hands. Now, too late to get the speedy Carey heading to first. The Washington shortstop threw to second base, but the throw was too high. Bucky Harris, covering second on the play, leaped into the air and came down too late to force the runner." And Johnson ended up allowing two more unearned runs to give the Pirates a 9-7 lead. Johnson ended up getting the loss after 9 runs scored, not after 9 runs allowed, 5 of them being earned, in 8 innings pitched. And throughout the series, he put up a 2.08 ERA in 26 innings pitched. So some wet baseball costs the Senators a second World Series in as many years.
Yeah, in my baseball time machine that's referenced a lot in Starting Nine, this might be one of the destinations I go to.
Absolutely. I would go up to the commissioner's office and be like, "Hey, do not play this game out."
Yeah. Yeah, you play you play the time cop.
Yeah, wait till tomorrow. We'll have nicer weather and we'll be able to play in fair conditions.
Yeah, I mean, this is, we're gonna see the usually reliable Roger Peckinpah
Yeah.
just making all kinds of mistakes. It's not gonna go well.
Can we label this as the Mickey Mouse World Series that the Pirates won?
Yeah, I mean,
that's just ridiculous. But
yeah,
to be fair, I don't know, maybe not though, because you know what? The Pirates are playing in the same conditions.
that is true.
So maybe I'll hold off on that.
It
But
is
either way,
same conditions for everyone.
yeah, either way, I mean, the game should be played the way it's meant to be played, under a bright blue sky. No clouds.
In Arlington.
Yeah, with a roof.
They should all be in Arlington now. So now this era is another pun. The big train is pulling into the station. 1926 and 1927. It's the later years of his career. It's about to end. And on opening day of 1926, he threw a 15-inning complete game shutout. This remains the only game by a pitcher 38 or older with 15 plus innings pitched and no runs allowed.
How about that?
And on April 27th, he earned his 400th career win, becoming the second pitcher to reach that mark. He also put up a 3.63 ERA, 3.50 FIP, and 107 ERA plus in 260 and 2/3 innings pitched. And he finished 4th in innings pitched and 9th in FIP, and finished 7th in BWAR and 5th in FWAR. The Senators did not three-peat as American League champions. They went 81 and 69 and finished 4th in the American League. And in 1927, Johnson did not appear until the Senators' 37th game, which, ironically enough, he threw a complete game shutout in his first game of his last season. However, he put up a 5.10 ERA and 80 ERA plus in 107 and 2/3 innings pitched and retired at the season's end. And now we're into his post-career.
Yeah. So in 1936, he was inducted into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame's inaugural class. He was there with Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, Christy Mathewson, and ARR history alum Hannes Wagner. In 1938, he was elected to the commissioner of Montgomery County in Maryland, and he was a broadcaster for the Senators in 1939. And in 1940, he also made an unsuccessful run for Congress. But you know what? Unsuccessful or successful, it's still rather impressive.
Yeah.
And in his later years, he kept busy on his farm. He was a Kansas boy after all. And he also made some brief appearances in games that promoted war bonds, which was highlighted by appearances against a retired Babe Ruth in Yankee Stadium. After an illness of several months from a brain tumor, Walter Johnson died on December 10th, 1946, at the age of 59 years old. So now we get into his all-time ranks. His 7 times leading the league in shutouts are tied for the most such times in baseball history. And his 9 times leading the league in FIP are tied for the most of such times in baseball history. His 12 times leading the league in strikeouts are the most such times in baseball history. He is 12th in career ERA with a 2.17, 11th in WHIP with a 1.06, 9th in strikeouts with 3,509, and 7th in ERA plus with a 147. He is 5th in complete games with a 531, 3rd in innings pitched with 5,914 and a third, 2nd in wins with 417, 1st in shutouts with 110. And he is 2nd in pitcher B-WAR, 2nd in total B-WAR, and 3rd in F-WAR, in pitcher F-WAR.
So now for the last player edition of
How about that?
the official segment where we go over the career marks, and there's a lot of them for Walter Johnson. He had 7 seasons with 10 plus B-WAR. No one else in baseball history has had more than 5 such seasons.
How about that?
He had 11 seasons with 6 plus shutouts. No one else in baseball history has had more than 8 such seasons.
How about that?
He had 7 seasons with 325 plus innings pitched and an ERA of less than 2. No one else in baseball history has had more than 4 such seasons.
How about that?
He also had 8 seasons with 325 plus innings pitched and a FIP of less than 2.1. No one else in baseball history has had more than 3 such seasons.
How about that?
He almost had triple the amount of the next best guy. And he had 6 seasons with 330 plus innings pitched, 5.4 plus strikeouts per 9, and less than 2 walks per 9. No one else in baseball history has had more than 2 such seasons.
How about that?
And lastly, for the seasons marks, he had 4 seasons with 290 plus innings pitched and an ERA plus of 200 or better. No one else in baseball history has more than 1 such season.
How about that?
And he is the only pitcher in baseball history with 5,500 plus innings pitched and 5 plus strikeouts per 9.
How about that?
He is also the only pitcher in baseball history with 5,000 plus innings pitched and an ERA below 2.2.
How about that?
And lastly, he is the only pitcher in baseball history with 4,000 plus innings pitched and an ERA plus of 145 or better.
How about that?
So just pure.
It's the last player. How about that?
Yes, and I mean, it was, you didn't have to dig too deep on the career marks
No,
there.
you weren't grasping at straws at all.
Yeah, no, not really. Pretty easy work on the on this one. And yeah, for Walter Johnson's legacy, you know, there's really not much to say that the numbers don't say. He was the most dominant pitcher of his era. He also, you know, I guess what's a little less known is he played key roles in 2 of the most intense game 7s ever. You know, I can't imagine if those were if those types of games were played in today's day, how exciting it would be. You know, how much people would be talking about how
It's like, imagine if Game 7 of the 2014 World Series went into 13 innings and Mad Bum pitched all of it. That's like how Walter Johnson's 1924 World Series appearance was.
Yeah, and like there were, you know, 6 situations with runners in scoring position and he just got out of all of them.
Yeah.
Like that type of intensity. Yeah, it was like, it would be like sort of like the 1991 World Series and how that went, where there was just, you know, no one was scoring. But yeah, the intensity of it being in extra innings made it all the more great. And, you know, him being the greatest pitcher of his era, finally getting his time, even though he was 36, that would have been a crazy storyline. So yeah, and, you know, obviously it, you know, you don't hear about it because it was never televised, or there probably wasn't even a radio call, understandably so. But, you know, this is what you learn about, and it's pretty wild, the games that he played in the World Series. And maybe, you know, you could make the argument easily that he's statistically the greatest pitcher of all time with his amount of innings and his run prevention, along with, you know, a 2.17 ERA is crazy. But even he played 8 years in the live ball era too. So it's pretty crazy to sustain that. And, league adjusted ERA, he was 47% above the average pitcher, which is very unusual to do over a career. Yeah, he was seventh among qualifying pitchers in ERA plus, and he had way more innings than everyone ahead of him. So you could make the solid argument that statistically the greatest pitcher of all time. I personally took him 5th overall in our all-time draft because of these facts. So in a way, this was kind of a persuasive essay on why it was the correct choice to take him with my first overall pick.
And one thing I would also say about him is that he was really the first great strikeout heavy pitcher of all time as well. I mean, like, he was most certainly not the first great pitcher, because you go into the 1884 season, you discover there are actually 37 great pitchers that season alone. But strikeouts were very down, just like they were throughout Walter Johnson's time. But he was consistently putting up like 6, 7, 8 strikeout per 9 seasons, which, that sounds like nothing now, but it was revolutionary back, at the start of the live ball era.
Yeah, and like there would be random seasons where to hit those strikeouts per 9 mark, but no one was doing it consecutively and consistently the way Walter Johnson was.
Exactly.
Like, Old Haas, who we love talking about, he had his great 1884 where he strikes out 441 batters, but he didn't have any seasons similar to that. Like,
and also that was in 613 innings pitched, I think.
Yeah, or even more than that, I think. And Walter Johnson,
638.
Walter Johnson was, in his age 22 season, I think, put up 313 strikeouts
70.
in less than 400 innings, which was just absolutely unheard of. And doing it consistently. No one's led the league in strikeouts more than Walter Johnson did. Like, he was doing it dominantly. Even he was leading in strikeouts even into his late 30s. Like,
Sure.
When the strikeout numbers were going down, it was still better than everybody else.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of all I got.
Yeah, so that's the it's a lot of numbers being thrown at you. That's what we do with the dead ball era guys. We don't have any video for anybody.
Yeah, and we don't have like anyone's really personal experience.
Yeah, not a lot. The Weiser story was
awesome.
The highlight for me.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean that one obviously hits close to home for us, even though we are absolutely nowhere near the state of Idaho.
Yeah, we at some point we gotta go there.
I was gonna say we need to take a road trip to Weiser, Idaho, and just appreciate the Walter Johnson presence.
It's probably not that much different now than it was in 1907.
I mean, they loved him.
Yeah, they probably have something dedicated to him still.
He was like a 19-year-old kid. They were like, "Please stay."
Yeah, we'll give you ownership of a cigar store.
Yeah, that's serious in 1919. That's like if someone today was like, "We'll give you a tech store."
Yeah. Imagine I don't know, wherever Vanderbilt is, they're like, "Hey, Kumar, we'll give you an Apple store.
Yeah.
If you stay around here in this area, just play for a minor league team here."
Yeah, that is I don't think I've ever heard a story like that in baseball outside of regular free agency.
Yeah, the first time we've covered something like this, where he has a meet and greet before leaving as a 19-year-old.
The only thing I can think of is when Shohei Ohtani was coming over to America and he threw a last pitch in Japan with a crowd there. But even then, I don't know if there's much people in Japan pleading for him to stay. I think the general consensus was yeah, he's going to go to America, but we'll still be watching.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I guess there was no way for the people of Idaho, people in Weiser were wondering how to get out of Weiser, Idaho, never mind, going cross country. Yeah, that was a pretty funny anecdote of the Walter Johnson experience. But yeah, No one to pick.
No one to pick. No selections. No preview.
No reveal here.
Feels wrong.
Yeah. So we hope you enjoyed the Walter Johnson episode, the finale for the players of the history series. It's finally done.
But it's not completely done. We still got one more.
Yeah, the players are over, and we got one more out to get. So we hope you enjoyed the Walter Johnson episode. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and want to watch us discuss Walter Johnson, go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is called Above Replacement Radio, and we're gonna put the playlist of players in chronology from Hannes Wagner to Albert Pujols. So that'll be a fun way to experience the show, and we'll do that next week with the teams as well. And if you want to follow us on social media, follow me on Twitter at Chris_Gianta. Follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram at Daniel_Curran. And follow the show Instagram at Above Replacement Radio. And we hope you enjoyed the Walter Johnson episode. And we hope to see you on Tuesday, where we will be doing a predictions episode for the 2021 baseball season. And next Thursday for the finale of the history series, opening day, it will be coming out, where we're going to be discussing the 2002 Anaheim Angels. See you then.